there's going to be some sort of mechanism put in place in terms of like a backstop, or there's going to be something happening there.
This is such a good point.
That will prevent massive cataclysmic
structural
failures
of the system. Yeah.
And if there's not, say for example, if there's not, then the world's done.
How do you counterbalance the negativity? Like you're somebody that you've always made moves, right? This is year 20 straight of making moves. The whole time, as we've seen, it's been negative. How do you continue to make moves when the macro and everything else is telling you not to?
Yeah, I never really actually paid attention to it, to be honest with you. I actually didn't. It wasn't, which is kind of odd, but it's been me on social media. I haven't been on social media for all that long. I didn't adopt it early on. I didn't want to adopt it early on because I was a little bit afraid that if I come out and say what I wanted to say, that people are going to not want to buy my products or not want to support. But at the end of the day, I was just like, fuck this. I'm going to come out and do whatever I want anyways.
That's pretty cool.
But for me, I never really paid attention to a lot of these negative people. And something else that I've also noticed is that, going back to real estate, number one, how do you deny the fact that people need a place to live? They need a roof over their head. It's on the hierarchy of needs, housing or shelter. It's on the hierarchy of needs, and that's arguably very important. And then how do you argue all of the supporting information out there that real estate if you look back into history and the trajectory that it's on, it's always on an upward trajectory. Like you can't argue that. And then you have population growth. It's not like the population in the world or all of these countries that we're buying in or the cities that we're buying in, the population's decreasing, right?
Or across the globe.
Yeah, it's gotten even since we've been alive. I don't know how much it's gone up by 25% maybe.
Probably more. It's probably the population of the world.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Doubled.
So let's look at that real quick for a second.
I got it here. 4.6 billion
back in 1983.
Yeah.
So it's doubled.
Yeah.
Since we've been alive.
Current population is almost 8 billion. So yeah, close to a double.
Yeah, it's close to a double. So how do you like? So I don't know. How do you argue with those fundamentals?
Yeah, the population has doubled.
Yeah.
The value of the dollar has decreased by probably 100%.
Yeah.
Right. So that's inflationary.
Yeah.
The land hasn't increased in size, right?
You have limited amount of land, not even necessarily land. You don't have a
buildable land.
Buildable land is serviceable land.
People need to understand
exactly. There's a big difference. Right?
So
people are always like, we have so much land in Canada, but nobody wants to live in a fucking igloo in northern Saskatchewan or northwest. Like I don't know.
And there's no services up there.
Exactly. There's no services. The infrastructure needed to get there to build there
billions of dollars.
It
would make any project that you tried to, if you were a developer trying to go build in these remote areas,
can't do it.
None of the numbers would work. So it'd be impossible. Yeah. So I think what you're saying here, whether knowingly or not, is like you're always focusing on the fundamentals of real estate, which is, if you break down the fundamentals, it's always supply and demand.
Yeah, like I'm not buying property in rural areas where nobody really lives or there's not really any kind of industry or job market. That's not where I'm buying. I'm buying, and that's not a fundamental. Right? That's not what I'm basing my fundamentals on. I want to see some hard, analytical, factual data to support my buying.
But what if while you're looking at a property, the news is saying that the rates might go up next quarter, right?
Yeah.
Or what if they're predicting a mass housing crisis based on bank failures across the country, right? So how do you digest that negativity and still operate?
Well, first of all, I don't have that much money in the bank anyways to fucking make that a concern of mine, okay? So, number one, in terms of like cash deposits, because from my perspective, if you have that much money in the bank, there's a problem.
I more mean if the banks fail, that means there's a lot of stuff is going bad.
With the mortgage and stuff like that, like at the end of the day, from my perspective, if that's happening, there's more things to be worried about than me losing my mortgage on that property or the bank failing on that mortgage. I'll again, I don't know the economics of that kind of situation happening, but all I know is that I'm going to, let me give you an analogy, okay? Because I don't know what would happen. That's the problem. If the banks fail, we got the loan on the North Miami property from Bayview or with Banesco, okay? If Banesco fails, do I know what's going to happen to my mortgage? No. All I know is I have a mortgage at Banesco that's with Bayview Palms, but do I think that I'm the only investor with Banesco?
No, I more meant if the banks are failing, that means there's major economic problems.
So what I'm saying is there's much worse issues going on than that.
Than your
mortgage on my investment property. Yeah. And then not only that, that's an $8 million mortgage or $8 million property. There's people with $1 billion there. Like those guys, there's going to be some sort of mechanism put in place in terms of like a backstop or there's going to be something happening there.
This is such a good point.
There's going to be something there that will prevent massive cataclysmic failures
of the system. Yeah.
And if there's not, say for example, then the world's done. Then we're just done.
It won't even matter.
We're just done.
And this is why, I agree with what you're saying. You
get what I mean? And then not only that, but let me get even a little further. And if that happens, there's nothing I'm going to do about it. What am I going to do about it? Like, seriously, what am I going to do about that?
Nothing. Exactly. There's
what am I going to do about that?
Ultimately, you're right. There's no point in worrying about the worst case scenario because the worst case scenario is game over.
Exactly.
And then everybody loses. But I love what you said there about, there's way bigger fish than you. Hundreds of billions of dollars of real estate ownership. And we know that the rich people always win because the game is rigged.
Yeah.
The rich people are part of the game. If the billionaires speak up, they're going to step in to stop, right, Wall Street from failing and the banks from failing and protecting those billionaires, which will filter down to protecting the smaller people as well.
And let me tell you this. This is why when I buy real estate, I buy real estate the right way. I make sure it cash flows. I make sure it's in the right location. Because in the event, say for example, Banesco fails or something like that happens, and again, I don't know what the next step is when you have a mortgage and that bank fails. I don't know what that is. Maybe another bank picks up that mortgage. I don't know. But I want to be in a decent position for another bank to pick something up. If in the event that happens,
that's
right?
A good point.
But that's not even why I'm buying based on cash flow and location. It's because that's the right fucking move. Mm-hmm. That's the right move, and that's the fundamental move of real estate. That's what you have to do.
Love that.
To be successful.
At